I would have honestly liked more, but I think the weather scared a few people off. Yesterday was very, very windy, and today's a little bit cloudy.
However, the event remains a major draw card for the city and comes at a welcome time for many local businesses. Organisers certain the unique event is here to stay.
Having a good day, mate. It's great to see so many internationals here at this event down on the foreshore. Certainly different.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It was great to be here today to officially open the skate park, and we can see how many young people are here using it.
We only had little pre-made parks with little ramps, and we had to push it like that. These guys have got a good facility now that they can really push it and do it safely.
"82 years young and no sign of slowing down." This Father's Day for Jeffrey Hyde was much more than a family trip to Ash Island. Today he called time on a 70-year journey as a pioneer of the Hunters Waterways. Time for a change of scenery.
I haven't got a plan. We've worn out a couple of motorhomes, and we're on the third one now, so we might give it a bit of a shake-up.
He's the last of 5 generations of fishermen, so this is the end of the line for commercial fishing for us, so it's certainly a very emotional time.
Jeff's career at sea began as a 15-year-old with his father Vic in 1951. 11 years later, he acted on a hunch, casting his prawning net in Stockton Bight. For lovers of seafood, the rest is history.
People ask me, why did you go looking for them? And I kept saying, I don't know. But it took me 3 days and I found them in 40 fathoms.
In his 70 years of fishing the Hunter River and Stockton Bight, Jeff has seen just about everything nature presents. But he says nothing compares to the current drought.
Last season was the worst I've had in 68 years. I could not believe there was no prawns. The simple reason was there was no fresh water to bring the prawns down, the food down.
They say a drought on land is a drought at sea, and that's really true.
But one thing this old salt won't be leaving on the water is his sense of humour. Light banter before our interview, just the bait he needed to target our cameraman.
Buddy. Where'd you get him from?
And with another mouthful of lip, he set sail, closing a chapter spanning 7 decades on the water. So from Newcastle and the Hunter, we say Happy Father's Day, Jeff, and all the best in retirement. Stephen Mount, NBN News. The sight of air racer Matt Hall over the skies of Newcastle is nothing new, but what happened today took it to another level. We asked the former Top Gun to take his GoPro for today's Supermoto air display. As always, he obliged, but what he came back with was truly breathtaking for spectator and pilot.
I travel all around the world, and every time you fly around this area, it is the most beautiful place in the world to fly an aircraft. So it is actually a fun job to go and do a display here at Newcastle.
From the view of the coastline to how hard these blokes work for a living, the fitness and concentration required to compete with the best in the world.
I'm always just keeping reference of where the crowd is. I know I'm looking at Nobbies and Port Scratchley and keeping over water between them. And really it's a bit of local knowledge about where things are at and a few features here and there, but it's just about staying oriented the whole time.
And what may come as a surprise to the uninitiated, almost 10 minutes of pulling up to 14 Gs was every bit as enjoyable for him as it was for us.
I take a reasonable amount in, so I was having a look at the crowd, and it's actually quite a relaxing thing for me to do a display like that because there's no pressure compared to racing, so I'm actually kicked back just having a great old time.
For the full joyride, head to our website, Stephen Mount, NBN News.
He's 800 metres away from 6 from 6 Marcus Class, the German, who is the current Australian Supermoto champion and soon to be crowned the FIM Oceania Supermoto champion.
Souths made an early mistake, failing to find touch. Central made them pay. Marcel Ikonofo put the Butcher Boys in front. Callan Richardson went himself and was held up before Ikonofo suffered the same fate. At the other end, the Lions' Tom Cronin was also stopped by desperate defence. Souths eventually hit the front as Ryan Glanville kicked for Lachlan Walmsley. From the very next set, Glanville again kicked for Walmsley and the Lions were up 12-4. Incredibly, South scored from the next set again. This time Glanville kicked for himself. Leading 18-6, the Lions went further in front when Cronin barged over. Before the break, Terence Siu looked certain to score, but Souths held firm. The Butcher Boys needed a lift early in the second half and they got one through Ethan Cook. But once again, Souths responded. Tory Freeman awarded a try under the sticks. Down 30-8, Central had a glimmer of hope when Dom Murphy found a way over. But that's as good as it got for the home side, Souths winning by 34, leaving the Butcher Boys with a do-or-die clash with Curry. Maitland needed to score at least 3 goals to reach its first NPL decider. The Magpies had hope when Broadmeadows' John Majerowski was judged to have fouled Carl Thornton in the box. Matt Thompson's spot kick was saved by Paul Bitts, but he made sure on the follow-up. Thompson was in the thick of the action after the break. He earned another penalty, but this time Bitts had his measure from the spot. The Magic Men were in more trouble when John Griffiths was shown a straight red for bringing down Alex Reid. Down to 10 men, Broadmeadow went close when a James Virgili shot was almost deflected in. Josh Piddington couldn't finish off the rebound. At the other end, Reid forced a solid save out of Bitts. In the final minute, Cale Bradbury blew a golden opportunity. But Broadmeadow hung on to reach the grand final.
Dr. Jeremy Coleman emerged the man he always claimed to be.
Very long, very arduous, but the result has been wonderful.
Acquitted of 50 sexual or indecent assault charges, the jury deadlocked on 16.
He leaves this court as he walked in, and that is an innocent man.
The 64-year-old immunologist stood accused of assaulting 46 female patients, the marathon trial centring around 3 words: proper medical practice.
Dr. Coleman would also like to express his thanks to the people that have stood by him through what has been quite an ordeal.
During the trial, the prosecution claimed the majority of the alleged assaults were carried out at Dr. Coleman's Newcastle practice. The first alleged victim came forward to police in 2003, with dozens more speaking out between 2014 and 2016. In total, 46 women accused Dr. Coleman of assault. Among the claims that he performed intimate examinations without a proper medical purpose, that he helped some women get undressed and also commented on their physiques. For 50 charges, the jury simply didn't buy the claims, and after deliberating for 36 days, the jury admitted this morning it couldn't agree on 16 of the charges, so Judge Penelope Hock discharged them, ending the trial.
Dr. Coleman would also like to acknowledge the very hard work of the jury in this trial. It has been over a year, and they have been a committed and disciplined jury.
Considered an expert in his field, Dr. Coleman saw more than 40,000 patients and conducted more than 150,000 consultations during a career spanning more than 3 decades. A career that has forever been damaged.
Is it a win for you? It's a win for medicine.
It was a case unlike any other, the longest criminal trial of its kind in Newcastle's history. Held in the District Court, proceedings began on August 29 last year and ran for more than 12 months. That's 180 sitting days in total, with the jury taking another 36 days to return the 50 verdicts. Even the jury selection process for the Coleman trial was a logistical exercise. More than 7,000 people were summoned, cut down to a potential 500 before the final 12 jurors were selected. They put their jobs and their lives on hold as they heard evidence from 84 witnesses. The trial was expensive as well, estimated to have cost the state more than $1.8 million. That may be a small sum, though, compared to Dr. Coleman's legal fees. It's rumoured it cost the immunologist more than $3 million to mount his defence. But the legal battle is far from over for Dr. Coleman, who will now have to face the remaining 16 charges. Tash, it certainly was a dramatic end to the trial of Dr. Jeremy Coleman, the immunologist acquitted of 50 charges. But the jury was unable to agree on 16 others, and it means that he will face those outstanding charges again.
It's been a long and drawn-out campaign, but the Independent Liquor and Gaming Authority's decision to uphold last drinks laws is music to the ears of community groups.
Emergency workers, most of the doctors and most of the community are very pleased with the Liquor Authority's outcome, which rejected the AHA's claim to reduce, water down our Newcastle conditions.
The review of licensing conditions for 14 city hotels saw just one item revoked, a shared radio network between venues, cited as outdated technology. All other conditions are either maintained or strengthened, with the addition of responsible service of alcohol marshals from 11 o'clock for venues trading after midnight.
They're still required to pay for a minimum of 2 hours service by RSA marshals and cease serving drinks half an hour before close of trade. So in a nutshell, they're paying for 2 hours of staff that actually they're doing their job for half an hour.
The authority recognises many hoteliers have changed their management practices, trading periods and business models since conditions were first introduced, and that individual circumstances should be assessed on their merits.
We hope, I guess, that in future our individual hotel operators will be assessed on a case-by-case basis as individual operators and not impacted by blanket conditions.
An approach the Last Drinks Coalition is wary about.
We must be careful that through the back door we don't increase other trading hours in smaller venues and then back to where we started with unacceptable levels of alcohol-related violence.
Stephen Mount, NBN News. Planning for a new John Hunter Hospital precinct. This is where it all begins. A think tank by clinicians, practitioners and community leaders.
Today was day one of the work that has to go into building a new John Hunter, but a new John Hunter for the 21st century.
And there's some work to do, from solving transport issues to utilising minimal space.
The site is constrained, which I must say I wasn't aware of until today either, in terms of the way it falls away. It's built on a ridge at the moment.
But as planning gets underway for a 30-year investment, there's one thing that won't change: John Hunter's status as the region's health and medical innovation hub.
It's the major hospital between here and the Queensland border, so that will never change. But it will be part of a network as it is, but even more so in the years to come.
From here, it's more consultation with the medical industry and the community before master planning begins.
Hopefully, not too far away, I can go into battle with Treasury and extract the money to actually make sure we build the hospital.
With less than 12 months until the next state election, could it be a case of watch this space? Stephen Mount, NBN News.
When you see us hosting these events, everyone gets behind them and the city wraps around the event. And more when I talk to event organisers, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for their event to take pride of place and be embraced by the city, and that's what Newcastle offers.
She's the highest profile woman in Australian sport. And she's backflipping her way back to Newcastle.
It's been absolutely fantastic to see her rise as far as a world best player. But, you know, there's a number of other girls who are also pretty good support cast.
The Matildas will play Chile in 2 friendlies in November, one in Penrith and the second in Newcastle.
And we've made a conscious decision to host more and more Matildas matches on home soil, young Matildas matches as well. And they're achieving some fantastic results.
Similar fixtures last year were record-breaking. More than 16,000 fans were at McDonald Jones Stadium to witness Australia's win over Brazil, the biggest Matildas crowd on home soil. The FFA is hoping this year will be even bigger.
We know that it's one that can be met because it was done in spectacular fashion last year.
A player especially happy for the homecoming, Newcastle product Emily Van Egmond.
She's very parochial. She loves Newcastle. For her, it's a little bit special, as it is for all the girls if they get to play in their home city.
The matches in Penrith and here in Newcastle are obviously great exposure for the Matildas, but are also really important preparation for the Women's World Cup in France.
With the games that we have here, and obviously the games that we'll have, I think, in October coming through, and then obviously from the preparation next year in 2019 leading into France, you'll see a lot of different names and different combinations, and that'll give us the best opportunity of selecting that squad.
A chance also to push Australia's case for hosting rights for the 2023 Women's World Cup.
This is a great opportunity for Newcastle to show what it's capable of doing.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Yeah, we had to work all night on Saturday night with the whole team trying to get that all fixed. So Sunday came around and we were going fast again, but unfortunately I made an error, probably mostly due to fatigue. Every season you're going to have a slip up on race day. Hopefully that's our slip up, and hopefully the other guys have got slip ups to come.
Back on the training pitch following their loss to Melbourne City in the round of 8, the Jets coach admits he was hoping for a deeper run into the FFA Cup.
It was a makeshift front line with Dimmy playing in midfield. We really need him in the front three. Matty Redenton's still getting used to the way we play, and Costa's a 19-year-old who's just learning the game, so we really were light on up front.
Rubbing salt into the wound, Newcastle finished with a handful of injuries. Dimi Petratos' ankle was the biggest concern and will keep him out of the upcoming Socceroos camp.
I spoke at length to Graham Arnold. He fully understands, because there's no game and because his ankle is swollen and he has a grade 1 confirmed injury. He didn't think it was worth bringing him in, but he'll certainly keep an eye on him and we'll bring him in later for a game.
Petratos could miss at least 2 of the Jets' upcoming pre-season trials, including the Australian under-20s this Thursday and Sydney FC on September 12. The absence of Dimmy and a handful of his teammates hasn't prompted Merrick to rush into any new signings. 2 keepers are currently trailing with Newcastle, former Phoenix shot-stopper Lewis Italiano and Ryan Scott from the Bentley Greens, the side that took down Broadmeadow in the FFA Cup. The coach's main priority remains in attack.
We need an experienced high striker that can play centrally or wide so that he can fit in when Roy comes in, but who's an experienced goal scorer at a high level.
What's really cool is to see how enthusiastic people are, to be sailing these types of boats, and, winter's only just finished. If this is a youth squad that's being developed for the NACRA class, then I think we're in good shape for the future.
Day one over, and accused murderer Ben Batterham wasted no time leaving court. The lone witness to take to the stand, Detective Chief Inspector Peter Mahon, earlier told the committal hearing he saw Batterham on top of Ricky Slater-Dixon at Hamilton in the early hours of March 26, 2016, and that Mr. Slater-Dixon pleaded, "I can't breathe, let me go," prompting Mr. Mahon to tell Batterham, if you don't get off him and let him breathe, he will die. Mr. Mahon, who was off duty at the time, told the court Mr. Slater-Dixon then bit Batterham on the hand, who responded by punching him. Ricky's arm was right up his back, his neck was really screwed around, twisted to the right, and he was really struggling with breathing at this stage. Shortly after police arrived and handcuffed Mr. Slater-Dixon, Mr. Mahon says he then noticed his eyes were fixed, staring at me. At that stage, I knew something was very, very wrong. Mr. Slater-Dixon died a day later. The court also heard a phone call made to police by Mr. Mahon during the incident, prompting Batterham's barrister to ask him, "Had you been drinking?" To which he replied, "No, I wasn't intoxicated when I made that phone call. It's obvious your speech was slurred. I was panicking." Batterham's defence team argues other factors may have led to Mr. Slater-Dixon's death, including methamphetamine found in his system or medical issues. Batterham's committal hearing will resume next month, with a number of medical experts set to give evidence about the possible causes of Ricky Slater-Dixon's death. Proceedings will run between 3 to 4 days. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Foreman Nixon has an important job. He's overseeing this building site with Kayla. Both children had a start to life no parent would wish for.
They picked up the mass when I was pregnant with him at 36 weeks, and he started chemotherapy at 2 weeks old.
This Madawi home is being built to help children like them. The land, materials and the time of 100 tradesmen has all been donated, and once complete it'll be auctioned off fully furnished for the Children's Cancer Institute.
$650,000, that will pay for the equivalent of almost 7 full-time scientists working for a year on our research that is going to make a difference for the survival and long-term outlook of kids with cancer.
Nixon wouldn't have made it without research. He came through his treatment fairly unscathed, and we saw many kids that didn't.
And his dad is on the tools too.
Typically it's mum stuck at hospital with Nixon. I'm pretty much not able to do as much as what I can with a young baby in hospital. So this is a way for me to give back, I guess.
When complete, this will be a 4-bedroom home with a living area, a home theatre and a double garage. It usually takes 6 months to build a house like this, but these guys will do it in just 2 weeks, whatever the weather.
We're scheduled for next Friday to have it all finished, ready to go for furniture and landscaping.
We absolutely believe there will be a cure one day for every child with cancer, and it'll be through research with the support of the community.
It'll go under the hammer on October 21. Georgia Marr, NBN News.
Remembering Private Kelly. A Glasgow miner who made Curry Curry home during the coal rush. But like so many of his generation, he wouldn't get to grow old, perishing on the battlefields of Bullecourt in 1917. With no grave and no known relatives, his memory was reduced to a name on a wall.
His file was stamped untraceable. Medals were archived for 100 years, and so this is an opportunity now to bring his memory back to life.
A century later, Curry Curry Primary School has posthumously welcomed Private Kelly home, awarded caretakers of his century-old medals by the National Archives.
The school has been honoured with such an amazing thing, but then it's also kind of bittersweet because he has died for our country.
I reckon it was a bit sad because he had no family and no relatives so they can wear his medals on Anzac Day.
Private William Kelly's homecoming highlights the coalfields' wartime contribution. In Curry alone, 435 soldiers enlisted in World War I. 80 never came home, 4 times the national average.
We think it's because they came from a high-risk industry, they're used to taking risks, their mateship is very, very strong.
And so is the emotion Curry feels for Private Kelly, his lonely end and legacy now never to be forgotten, teaching future generations about the lucky country. Stephen Mount, NBN News.
Born at 32 weeks, little Mia is going home today. And it's a double celebration, being also her 1-month birthday.
They've been there for us, so it was a really great journey, but we're happy to go home today.
Having a sick or premature baby come into the world can be overwhelming and a life-changing experience.
I felt very emotional because, I would lie in my bed every night and hear them cuddling their babies and, everything is going well for them and I'm not with mine. So it was very emotional. I could not wait to get here to be with her and just give her some kangaroo cuddles.
The neonatal intensive care unit at the John Hunter Children's Hospital cares for around 1,200 babies each year. Yolandi lives relatively close by, but newborns here can be from as far north as the Queensland border and beyond Moree to the west. It's a new unit with 43 beds, but there's always a need for the latest specialised equipment, and community fundraising is essential.
We want the best equipment and we want it now.
Enter staff members Melanie and Prue. By day, they work tirelessly to save tiny lives. After hours, they're organising Newcastle's NICU Babies fundraising ball.
The families and babies that we do get to work with, they become part of your life. Working in NICU is really special, and all of us that work here realise how special our job is, so it's really important, I think, for a lot of us to feel that we can give back.
We're eternally grateful for people like Prue and Mel and the team behind them who are organising this weekend's event. We couldn't be more proud.
To support the cause this Saturday night, go to trybooking.com.
Put your hands in your pockets and just get these monies raised for these beautiful babies and their families.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. A lopsided penalty count, questionable tries, and inexperienced ref. There's no doubt the night's penultimate match didn't go to plan.
He was put out there against probably the most match-hardened, experienced team in the comp at home, who were very savvy guys, and maybe another game may have been a better choice for a rookie ref.
Losing workhorse Lachlan Fitzgibbon early after a head clash, then 5'8" Connor Watson to a recurrent groin problem didn't help either.
We lost them pretty early on and had to reshuffle, but that's no excuse.
Out of finals contention, this Saturday's final home game, Old Boys Day, is all about pride.
We'll definitely be showing up with the right mentality and hopefully finish the season on a high and send some of our old boys out on a good note.
The Dragons are coming off a 38-0 demolition at the hands of the Bulldogs, their heaviest defeat ever at Cogra. But for the Red V, hearing the home crowd boo was even worse than the scoreline.
Well, they play to come and watch the game. It's very disappointing.
Very disappointing, and it's hard to cop that from the fans, but rightly so.
The Knights wary of a team with a point to prove.
Because they haven't been playing too good lately, they'll be looking for something going to the finals because they're already going to be there. So no, we're wary of their team. They're good over the park.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
The Tigers had hometown support and almost posted first points. Shane Hasselman kicked from deep, but Ethan Christensen and Tyler Wolfgang couldn't win the race to the ball. No decider would be complete without a little push and shove. When the dust settled, Scone's Josh Watson crawled his way to the line to make it 4-0. Aberdeen wasted no time responding. Hasselman kept the ball alive for Joshua Schmiedel, who barged over. Benjamin Baker's conversion made it 6-4 to the Tigers. Liam Forum came in for some special treatment, but Aberdeen couldn't capitalise on plenty of possession, throwing away a handful of good opportunities before the break. No one was going to complain about the rain, but it did make life difficult as the game wore on, as both sides found a way to bomb tries. Foran looked certain to score, but was stopped just short. A Watson kick fell kindly for Thoroughbreds winger Joel Harrison, but he was cut down in a classic grand final tackle by Harrison Douglas. With time running out, Hayden Topless finally broke through for Scone. Aberdeen had one last chance, but the Thoroughbreds would hang on 10-6.
It's awesome. It's great for the town, it's great for the club, great for the whole community, so absolutely pumped.
Man of the match, Justin Apthorpe was happy to share his award with the entire club.
The group and the players are working hard the last 2 weeks thinking about this, so I think we are going with a good mentality, with good fitness. Wish him good luck in the game, but of course, once that we are inside the pitch, is everybody gonna fight for his team.
In all honesty, I could probably cry, and I probably will cry later. I'm so proud of those girls. We were 1-0 down, come back, 4 goals, got a bit tight there near the end. For me, I'm just ecstatic. That's now 3 in 12 months. So I'm a bit shocked, and I'm so proud of these girls. They dug in, and it's probably our best performance this season.
Many check into the Hunter Valley to check out, jumping in the car for a relaxing weekend. But this campaign wants you to escape on Monday to Friday.
Hunter Valley is Sydney's playground. We have 5 million people on our doorstep, and those 5 million people want to go somewhere for a weekend.
2.5 million people visit each year. 80% are domestic visitors. A multi-million-dollar 3-year campaign has gone live to reel in more midweek stays. Local businesses, the Tourism Association and councils chipped in to create a little sex appeal.
The funding has actually come from the community. $300,000 was raised together with Singleton Council and Cessnock Council.
It was meant to be matched by the state government, but in a push to get more people holidaying in New South Wales, it added a few extra zeros.
Instead of it being a $600,000 campaign, we're up to about just over $2 million, which is just phenomenal.
TV commercials, digital ads and billboards across the state will aim to boost midweek stays by 20%, an investment that's hoped to increase things like casual employment to full-time.
If we can get the tills turning over, it means we've got more money being spent locally.
People already seem to be paying attention.
Some of the questions that are being asked in there have been a little bit controversial, but we're selling a lot of love here in the Hunter Valley, be it wine or food or whatever you would like to think about it.
Georgia Ma, NBN News.
It's certainly affordable. There's no doubt there'll need to be a plan to educate and train the next generation of nurses and midwives, but with goodwill and government investment, that can certainly be done.
Prime waterfront views earmarked by council for a new venture, a 6-storey development with mixed commercial, residential and tourism use, a build which some residents do not want.
Whilst we don't have fixed ideas, an attractive coffee shop here and some other facilities, tables and chairs and a car park for park users up the back here would be the ideal way to improve it.
This week, soil quality is being tested. While a DA is yet to be lodged, opposed residents are trying to lobby council to change its direction.
We have about 3,400 signatures calling on council to maintain this area as community land.
The group will meet tonight at Toronto High School to discuss their concerns. Meantime, council has opened a consultation period for the Toronto Foreshores Master Plan.
So everything's on the table. More bike paths, walking trails, water-based activities, recreation facilities for young people. A whole range of proposals have come out of the community consultation so far.
It says the Bath Street development will help bring people in.
We have 90% of the foreshore area as public space, which will be turned into recreation space for the community.
You can have your say until the 24th of this month. Samantha Long, NBN News.
Imagine being told your daughter has leukemia and you have to fly halfway across the state right now so she can begin treatment. That was the frightening scenario that confronted Casey and Murray Chalicum earlier this year.
We literally had about 2 hours between being told and when Poppy and I were on a plane.
Young Poppy has now been receiving chemotherapy at John Hunter Hospital for more than 7 months. The family from Glen Innes has been staying at nearby Ronald McDonald House.
You don't know what you're going to do when your kid's sick, and you especially don't have time to think about accommodation. We don't know where we'd be or what we'd be doing if they didn't have this house for us to move into in a hurry.
Housing the more than 700 families from across the region that rely on the service annually costs money. Money these cyclists are hoping to raise during the upcoming Ride for Sick Kids.
It makes a big difference for them to have somewhere to live nearby the hospital so they can care for their child.
The group leaves Grafton, heading for Newcastle on Tuesday next week.
Apologies right now for holding you up a little bit along the way, but we are out there doing our best to make a difference.
If you see them go past, these are the people that will save you in the storm, so consider giving them some money.
Sam Burbury, NBN News.
Almost unrecognisable, Edward Smith Hall did his best to go unnoticed outside court today, but inside he was front and centre in his own trial. The 68-year-old taking to the stand fighting more than 20 sexual or indecent assault charges. Hall denied a barrage of accusations made by 11 alleged victims. When asked by his barrister about one on a shooting trip at Gloucester, "It's alleged on that trip both he and you removed your clothes," Hall replied, "That is not true." Then this at a Newcastle beach, "While in the surf you indecently assaulted him," Hall's response, "That never happened." Hall is accused of assaults on students at St Pius High School in the Newcastle suburb of Adamstown. One alleged victim claimed that you lifted him with one hand and held him against the wall. "That is not true," Hall replied. "And whilst doing that, you indecently assaulted him," to which Hall said, "That is a complete lie." The judge-alone trial, which was originally set down for 4 weeks, is now in its final stages, with the prosecution wrapping up its case today. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
3-year-old Lucas Schramm is lucky to be here. He was a miracle baby, born at just 26 weeks. He could fit into the palm of his parents' hands, weighing just 490 grams. He needed his very first blood transfusion at 4 days old.
It's quite a shock to see, someone so small and then requiring to even put the needle in to give him the blood donations, but then seeing, after the second and third one that he had to receive, just how much it was assisting him to get along.
3 years and 5 transfusions later, Lucas is a bubbly toddler, keeping his parents on their toes while receiving the ultimate gift.
It's a very selfless thing for people to do, to give people the chance, or in our case babies, chance to survive.
It's thanks to Aussies like Laurie who donate their time and blood cells. The 60-year-old has been donating for more than 4 decades, booking a regular fortnightly appointment, and today he sat in the chair for the 500th time.
Plasma every 2 weeks, whole bloods 12 weeks. I want 700 by 70.
Laurie has saved up to 1,500 lives, now calling the Broadmeadow Blood Bank his second home. More than 500,000 Australians donate blood every year. The Schramms are long-term donors, and all 3 have a simple message.
Everyone can do it. I mean, it's not that hard.
People that would have not have loved ones with them, they wouldn't have gone on to enjoy rich and full lives if it wasn't for people like him.
Samantha Long, NBN News.
Deans has already been head coach for 3 seasons. Signing a multi-year deal is proof the club and the league are becoming more stable.
There's obviously been big strides in the women's game, and the salary the players are getting now, and the infrastructure around the girls is getting better year by year. So to have another 2 years to keep building on, that's something that I'm looking forward to.
In February, Newcastle returned to the finals for the first time in 9 years, beaten by Sydney in extra time.
The main thing that all the players and myself and staff are focused on is making the finals every year if we can. And then once you get into the finals, then obviously you definitely have a chance to win.
Planning for the 2018-19 campaign began almost immediately. American Aaron Gilliland is getting married and won't return, but fellow imports are likely to be back.
Yeah, we've had good conversations so far with Katie Stengel and Britt Eckerstrom, who at opposite ends of the park last year did really well for us. So I think it's important that we try and lock those two in again.
Deans will invite a handful of WPL players to trial as well, but has already made a big signing in Matilda Larissa Crummer, who he's keen to help continue her transition from striker to centre-back.
After a long absence, the NBL returns to Newcastle this weekend. The Sydney Kings playing the Illawarra Hawks on Saturday afternoon. Head coach Andrew Gaze took a trip down memory lane this afternoon, inspecting the court he once played on alongside American import Brian Bowen.
It's great to be back here. Not a lot's changed.
Despite assembling a formidable roster, he says underestimating the opposition would be a mistake.
Many people just think, well, you've got that talent, just roll the balls out and she'll be right. Sit back, relax, and you just watch the wins tick over. It is far, far from that. The Hawks present a very stern test for us, and one where I think it'll allow us to evaluate some of the things that we're trying to do with the group.
Fans hoping to see obvious attraction, NBA championship winning centre Andrew Bogut are in luck. The big man to feature prominently.
The goal is to get him acclimatised to NBL conditions, and the best way to do that is minutes on the floor.
Minutes on the floor, playing with up-and-coming teammates who idolise him.
He's played with and against guys that I've looked up to since I was a little kid. To be a part of his journey now is truly a blessing.
The regular season begins October 11. 2 games each round are being broadcast on 9Go. Sam Burbury, NBN News.